What's up, guys? Welcome to Box to Box Football, and I'm back here with Jack. Going to give you a review of the Champions League quarterfinals, all four draws. The first legs, all of them are done. What a time! Especially, let's talk about the first game, the most important game, the craziest game of all: Bayern Munich versus PSG. Game finished 3-2 to PSG. Jack, what a game!
Yeah, worthy of a final. Obviously, it didn't have that kind of level of stress that a final would have. But when the goals were going in, it felt iconic. You know, I was up out on my seat a lot of the time. I'm a big fan of those glancing headers. I'm a huge fan of that because the crosses are so perfect that all you have to do is make contact and you've scored. So I'm always a huge fan of that. And I was up out on my seat more often than not. It's definitely the kind of first time I've been up out on my seat for these Champions League games during this campaign, purely because we're getting to a point now where it matters. We were talking briefly before we started recording. It was very strange. Neuer, I didn't love the goalkeeping for that first goal, and then some of the defending. Danilo Pereira. I know he's not like a solely based central defender. I know he's more of a holding midfielder, knitting things together and building it up from the back. But some shoddy defending there for one of the Choupo-Moting goals. I think his first one. No, he only did score one. Yeah, for the Choupo-Moting goal. So, as much as I want to say it was just unbelievable offensive play that just outclassed these defenders, there was some pretty ropey defending going on. Now, that made for a really interesting game and a really fun game. Obviously, you and I had a bit of fun. I thought this was Bayern's game to lose. Then Robert Lewandowski's out. And then I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to pick PSG now because the best player on the pitch wasn't going to be there. The most important player on the pitch wasn't going to be there. But I think we saw something from Bayern Munich to go, maybe they're not totally out of this yet. The next leg in Paris, we know what PSG can sometimes do in these Champions League tournaments. And I don't know. This isn't just because they got 3 away goals. I'm not so sure that the PSG have won this already.
Wow. Generally, this is one of the best games I've watched in a while.
I just vomited, and that I just vomited words, and I think that kind of explains the gap. I've just realized now. I kind of was listening to myself in my head there, just going, "Where are you going with this?" And just because there was so much happening in the game.
Jack, I didn't watch the Chelsea game, and I don't regret it at all because this game was just, it was just insane. Manuel Neuer mistake for the first goal, but I can live with that. Because you know that he has the ability to make crucial saves, and he did do that. He kept them in it. Neymar went through, made a big save, and Mbappe went through, made a big save. But the one thing I'm going to say, both teams would be happy and both teams would be upset at the same time. Because I think if you're PSG, you would have believed that the way this game was going, we could have blew them out. If you remember 2014 when Bayern Munich played against Real Madrid and Bayern put a lot of pressure on them, but they ended up losing 4-0 in the second leg. That's what I felt PSG could have done today. Bayern were there for the taking. Defensively, but going the opposite way, Bayern Munich would have felt that we should have won this by 10 goals. And the one word I'm going to say is Robin Lewandowski. No, two words I'm going to say is Robin Lewandowski. Because if he was there today, it would have been an absolute blowout. Bayern Munich had 31 shots, 12 on target. They had some huge chances, and the difference is that they didn't have the killer up front. Bayern were outstanding going forward. They some of their play was just out of this world. But the difference
it's some of the best build-up football I think I've seen in a really long time. I was just watching some of it going oh my god, just innovating with space and just creating space for overlaps, underlaps, crosses into boxes. And one thing that Bayern do so well is the chemistry between Lewandowski and Muller. And having Choupo-Moting there, it didn't really click. There were times when, all Bayern sometimes need to do is just play the ball into, what's it called again? Lewandowski with his back towards goal, 12 yards out. He can do a little sharp turn, and then he's in. Choupo-Moting, he can get it. Ball be stuck underneath his foot. He's not really sure what to do. You get tackled in, I thought he was okay, though. It was funny. I was watching the game with my dad. I know what you're probably going to say. I was watching the game with my dad, and I was like, Dad, this guy has the most blessed career you can ever see. And I'm reading Mainz, I think Freiburg were in there, Stoke City, and I'm telling him 30 appearances, 2 goals, 70 appearances, 20 goals, whatever, really poor strike rates. He's played for PSG and Bayern, but saying that, I don't think he was that bad.
He wasn't that bad, but if Bayern want to win the Champions League, if Lewandowski's there, I think it's a complete blur. But also the weird thing about Bayern that really got me was the fact of the matter is they made 3 changes in the first like 30 minutes. It was almost like they didn't start with the team that they wanted to start, but they wanted to give it a bit of experiment because they take off Sula, bring on Boateng. They take off who they take off for, and they bring on Alphonso Davies.
Goretzka.
Who else? Like who else did they bring on? I can't remember the third guy that they brought on, but they brought on 3 subs in the first half. So it was like a really unsettled Bayern Munich, but it's a good display at the same time. But on the PSG side, you can see the good, the bad, and the ugly with PSG. You can see that in Ligue 1, they haven't been great. They've been struggling. But you also see the quality at the same time of Neymar and Mbappe, and that will be the reason why they will go on to win this whole thing. You know, because overall, like, they weren't great, but they could have taken advantage of how bad Bayern were going backwards. But they did that, but not to me enough. You know, Mbappe to me was outstanding, but I feel like Bayern were so bad going backwards that they could have got 4 or 5 to be fair. You know, and really killed it.
There was a lack of consistency across the board. I think I remember looking kind of like squinting at the screen and being like, okay, so they're playing a double pivot with Alaba and Kimmich. Now, I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm saying really you've got a left back, left-sided centre back, and really historically you've got a right back playing as your 2 holding midfielders. And obviously you think about teams of old, and by teams of old I even mean a year ago, where it might have been Goretzka and Thiago and Tolisso, let's say, as a midfield three. And that's such a huge change, in terms of an impact there. Davies coming on, I thought, changed things a lot. He provides that really good attacking outlet. I don't love him defensively, but I think that what you kind of give up defensively...
Better than Trent Alexander-Arnold, I'm just saying.
Yeah, you at this point, you're probably right. But yeah, very exciting game. I think we've got a hell of a lot more to talk about, but I'd say that this video would probably go on for 2 hours if we talk about the whole game.
I can talk about this game for ages. I can talk about like PSG's setup in a way like they had Neymar in like a 10, but not like an attacking 10. He was very deep a lot. You know, he
played so well. He played one of the better Neymar performances I've ever seen.
Incredible, but this wasn't a Neymar. First of all, the positioning of Neymar wasn't a normal Neymar game, where he was almost like he did his defensive duties when he had to, but he also dropped in. It was almost not even a 10, an 8 at times, dropping in really deep to like receive the ball. And the thing about Neymar, he wasn't doing too much with it. When he had to let it off, he had to let it off. I didn't see the Neymar highlight reel, but that was one of his best performances. It was one of his most efficient performances, and the only thing that he lacked was that goal, because I felt he was even better than Mbappe, if I'm being honest.
But for me, the assists were proper assists. It wasn't just like what's that stupid assist? Was it a David Villa assist or an Iniesta assist where they just side foot pass it, Messi dribbles past?
Like, that was like Sergio Busquets.
Like it wasn't assists like that. Like the cross for the Marquinhos goal, or I don't even want to call it a cross. It was more like a ball over. No one's expecting that. Everyone's running up. He's not hitting that pass. Left foot. Left foot. I mean, great touch from Marquinhos, but that's a proper assist. Like you say, he didn't cap it off with a goal, but to me, if Neymar can give you 2 assists of that quality over the course of a game, I'm here for it, especially coming deeper to receive the ball. And as he gets older, James, I think that's going to be his role, isn't it, going forward?
Jack, but we're gonna move on because again we can talk about this all day long. Right. Also, Kylian Mbappe, killer. As I said, we talk about your Erling Haalands, your Phil Foden, Jadon Sancho's. This guy's on a different level, different boat. He is going for the best player in the world. He's that great.
Right.
You've seen the difference he made. But let's move on and let's talk about the second game today, Chelsea versus Porto. Now, a game that I felt could have went 50-50. But seems to be like Chelsea are in the driving seat and probably in the most comfortable driving seat out of all 4 games, beating Porto 2-0. But Jack, what do you think of the game?
Now, I'm going to say 10% of my focus was on that game, and that's probably even being a bit generous. But here's what I'll say. Porto were the ones with the initiative early on. Chelsea really didn't threaten at all, Porto much at all. Now, they're the away team, so I understand early days you want to just kind of settle into the game, get some rhythm going, get some confidence, especially if you're going to be playing out from the back, maybe a little bit more. Get your midfielders kind of ticking over a little bit. Get your forwards a little more comfortable. But yeah, Porto didn't take their opportunities early in the game. The Mason Mount goal is so important. I think if you go down to this Chelsea team, you're in trouble. You're in for a really tough ride. And the fact now that, you know, Chelsea have this 2-goal lead and they're both away goals, I think that, you know, chances are you're going to say that realistically, Chelsea are going to score at least 1 goal in the next leg. So that means that Porto against this Thomas Tuchel Chelsea team, who've been fantastic defensively and been unbeaten for the longest time, apart from that strange West Brom result, and they're going to have to at least win the game. You'd say probably about 3-1. 3-1 is going to be the least expected of this Porto team coming to Stamford Bridge. All I'm saying is good luck with that. That Mason Mount goal was so important. Apart from that, you know, I wonder about Chelsea and that next step. And, you know, stop me if I'm going on a little too long here, but Porto had more opportunities, looked more dangerous. I believe they had more shots on target. I just want to check that. That's what it felt like. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 5 shots on target to Chelsea's 3, doubled their amount of total shots. I don't know. It was very professional, and Chelsea will get the job done, and you'd imagine now we'll get to the next round, but I wasn't convinced. I don't know if that's fair.
Thomas Tuchel will have a face like this.
Yeah.
Because he loved it.
He knows,
perfect.
He knows where he's going.
Absolute. Like, if you tell Chelsea, even if you offer Chelsea like a 0-0, I think they would have taken it. But 2-0, right. 2 away goals, like, that's perfect for them guys. Yeah, looking at the stats, they didn't dominate it shots-wise, but again, they had the most possession. But the one thing I really want to touch on with Chelsea first was they went back to what they usually knew under Thomas Tuchel, and now in that was with a back 4 with Rudiger and Christensen there. Obviously, Azpilicueta was there, but again, the game against West Brom, they had Zuma and like Thiago, but they went back to what they knew today, all 3 of them, and when they seem to play together, Chelsea don't concede goals. And the fact of the matter is that they just didn't concede. I didn't watch the game and like to tell you exactly what went on, but it's perfect for Chelsea in this situation. Mason Mount is Chelsea's best player. Yeah? Can we just put our hands up and just okay, N'Golo Kante, I get it. N'Golo Kante is world class. Like we love him.
I'm looking at it. I think you're right. I think I can't even really argue any of the other contenders are really up there at this point.
Mason Mount is becoming a game changer for him.
Right.
For Chelsea, because Jack, that goal is huge. Chelsea, they weren't really doing anything, but it's a moment out of the blue and it's pure genius. You know, he received the ball, what a turn, and the finish is devastating. And he puts Chelsea in a mold of like, we need to go. We need something to happen. Mason, what do you got for us? We're not looking at Kai Havertz. What you got for us? And bear in mind, I was told Kai Havertz played well, but they're looking at Mason Mount to lead them, and that's credit to him especially.
I think the basis for that with the 5 is so good because a lot of people will look at it and think it's quite a defensive formation because you got that back 3. You've got the 2 wing-backs who have been used as traditional full-backs in the past. And then you've got Kovacic and Jorginho. And you might think to yourself, well, that's kind of 2 more holding midfielders. I mean, I know Kovacic can be a bit more progressive, but really, if you think about it, that's 7 outfield players who you could consider more defensively based. But what it does is it allows Reece James and it allows Ben Chilwell to get right up in line with Werner, with Havertz and with Mount. And then when the Porto team is preoccupied about blocking those wide spaces, the likes of Mount, the likes of Kai Havertz can drop in, fill in the gaps with knowing that there's that defensive support behind them. And that's where they can thrive and do their best work. I don't think it's always going to be pretty, especially in the harder games. But I think tactically, it's a very hard team to play against, Tuchel's Chelsea.
Yeah, can we call it game over? Yes or no?
I think we can. I think we can because as far as I'm concerned, if it really counts, I don't think Chelsea won't score at Stamford Bridge against a Porto team.
You know, Porto are good enough to go ahead and score 2.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I think the only way Porto get through is a 3-1. And anything above a 3-1 at Stamford Bridge, you've got to say is a serious like choke from Chelsea, and I just don't see it happening.
Let's just say the last time Chelsea played at Stamford Bridge, they conceded 5, so that might be a bit of hope for Porto. But
To a worse team than West Brom.
But let's move on. And let's talk about yesterday's games, and let's look at Real Madrid against Liverpool. Game finished 3-1 to Real Madrid. A bit of a shock to me, based on how I felt of the game, but Real Madrid absolutely deserved it. They dominated this Liverpool team, and to be honest, it was easy. It was easy for them. But Jack, how did you feel about the game?
Vincius Jr., welcome. We've been waiting a long time. I'm starting to get grey hairs. That's how long I've been waiting for you to show up in a big game. You can't be a kid who cost that much, been 16 years old, and not deliver us kind of like the next Neymar kind of traits in terms of your big play. And I think Real Madrid, no Hazard, right? No Ramos, no Varane as well. They're missing a lot of kind of key players, and they needed somebody to step up. I think everybody thought that might be Benzema, but we saw Vincius Jr. in terms of that finishing role, that final third, making sure that the goals went in, being dynamic, being a game changer. He was there. James, I have such a man crush on Toni Kroos. Toni Kroos, like I joked with my friends, Toni Kroos could hang up his soccer boots, put on some American football boots. Toni Kroos could play quarterback, but with his feet. Like that's how precise that man is. That first ball over the top, which just like drops onto Vinny for that one touch and finish. Like, I mean, I don't know how many attempts that would take me to do. If you gave me 1,000 balls, I don't know if I'd be able to do it any better. And Toni Kroos just in the moment can do it. We saw Modric kind of roll back the years a little bit. And, Liverpool, I've got to say it's game over. I know it's 3 home goals. Liverpool have that 1 away goal, but I think you've got to say with Liverpool's defensive woes, Real Madrid are going to score at least 1 goal away at Anfield when they need to, when it counts. I mean, I'm looking at the James 16 shots to 7 shots on target compared to 1. Liverpool were lucky that their 1 shot on target went in.
It's a weird one for me, and looking at the way Liverpool approached the game, and especially the first goal. And I think the craziest thing for the first goal is that Toni Kroos is in that position, yeah, and you can get away with that if you have Virgil van Dijk there organizing the team and telling whoever his partner is Toni Kroos is on the ball. There's no pressure on the ball. Let's drop.
Right.
The fact of the matter is that it's Kavash and Matt Phillips in there.
Nathan.
Nathan Phillips. It doesn't happen. So Liverpool try to play this semi-high line, and then you leave a player like Toni Kroos with no pressure on the ball. Jack? What do you think is actually going to happen in that situation? Generally, you give world-class players that type of opportunity to pick out a pass. Come on, it's a pinpoint pass from Toni Kroos. The finish from Vincius is absolutely brilliant. But then Liverpool did it again. No pressure on the ball again. Ball over the top from Toni Kroos. What happens again? The defenders, they don't drop. And I watched the Arsenal game, and everyone was all excited and saying, wow, Liverpool defenders, it looks like they finally got it. They're back. We played against Arsenal, unfortunately. It seems like we just called bluff in when it was April Fool's, 7 days ago, they played the April Fool's on us. This Liverpool defense is not as good as we think it is. The matter is,
the thing I just want to touch on, I watched Dortmund, the Dortmund Bayern game recently. Was it Dortmund Bayern? It was, wasn't it? Their Classico was recently, yeah. And before the game, you're looking at the Bundesliga table. James, Schalke are bottom by a country mile. One of the main starting centre backs in this all-time terrible defensive Schalke team is Ozan Kabak. Now, I think he has a lot of upside and a lot of potential, but Liverpool fans, I think, need to have a little bit of a readjustment here. You've got this young guy who's just come off one of the more worst seasons of his career, and you've got this young kid coming in too. Virgil van Dijk, the difference would be astronomical. And Trent Alexander-Arnold, I know we're probably going to save that maybe for a different video, but man, that's bad decision making. Really bad decision making.
It's really bad, but I need to talk about Real Madrid and talk about that midfield trio. They've already done the treble or 3 in a row Champions Leagues. They're one of the greatest midfields of all time. And you're thinking, listen, I said at Real Madrid they need a change, but a 35-year-old Toni Kroos, I don't know. a 35-year-old Madrid. I don't know how old Tony Cruz is, but I know he's in his
30s. 32 maybe.
And then Casemiro's quite old, but they just rolled back the years and showed everyone the quality of that, like of that midfield, the experience, the big match game knowledge you've seen from certain players in that team, from Asensio, from Benzema. There was no panic in this in this team. And bear in mind, we talk about Liverpool having injuries. Real Madrid also had huge injuries, losing losing Varane on the eve of the game. Also, hearing 2 days ago, like your captain wasn't going to be fitting out in 4 weeks. They still show the experience when Nacho was absolutely fantastic and
Militao played great, yeah.
Like both of them, they didn't do anything spectacular, but all they did was defend and get the ball away. They weren't trying to play out from the back and do anything special there. But just Real Madrid were outstanding.
I don't want to go into like too much detail because I don't want to hold on the video for too long. But Thiago, I know he's not at the best.
I felt that he came on and changed the game for Liverpool. He was one that. Yeah. Just Jurgen Klopp made the change around the 35th minute because he realized like there's something not right there. When Thiago came on, you've seen Liverpool move the ball a little bit more quicker. I thought he was the one that got them on the ball because before then, Modric and Kroos and Casemiro were playing circles around them.
So why doesn't he start? Why didn't Klopp start him?
Honest to God, I felt Klopp wanted to go with what he knew before. So I'm gonna go with a high press midfield of Gini Wijnaldum. Fabinho's going to sit. This is what I already know. This is what I know won me a Champions League already. And it just, for me, it just backfires. And another big shout out I got to give is Vincius. As I said, the guy is frightening. He is frightening good. But the problem with Vincius is that end product, because he has all the makings to be one of the best players in the world. If he just gets that consistent end product, Jack, be scared. Because the first image I have in my head was that Atlanta run where he takes on 3-4 players and you're thinking he's gonna slot it in and he misses.
Yeah. But that could have been a Puskas. Like if that Atalanta goal goes in, that could be a Puskas nomination.
Well, let's talk about the last game. We got Dortmund versus Man City. Just a quick note on that, Jack. Tell me how you felt about the game. Game finished 2-1 to Man City.
I got the feeling that Dortmund are going to be happy with that. I think if you'd have offered them 2-1, I think they'd have accepted it. Haaland didn't have a great day. A couple of flashes. Royce, I love Royce more and more. Every single time I see him, I love that guy. You saw the passion at the end. He was ticked off that his team didn't get more out of the game, that they didn't get certain calls go their way by the ref. I can't help but feel like it's this thing with Pep, and I thought it was going to change this year, and I still think City will go through. But I don't know if Gabriel Jesus wasn't fully fit, but I just wish Pep would play with that recognised number 9. It feels like he's overthinking everything in his build-up to the game.
Do you know what it is? I wouldn't say he's overthinking, because this is what he's done throughout this whole season. He's played with the false number 9, and it's work. So he isn't overthinking it. I feel if he would have done something a bit drastic and did what he did last year and go 3 at the back, then I would have been like, okay, yeah, then he's overthinking. But he gone with what was working with him throughout the whole season, and it worked. You know, I wouldn't say it worked to perfection, but you could see that Man City has a little bit of a nervous twitch in the Champions League. It's not the same swagger as in the Premier League. You know, because let's be honest, this Dortmund team isn't great. They've been dropping points here, there, and they might not even make Champions League this year. But it was, if you asked Dortmund, they would have felt that, yeah, Man City had chances, but we also had chances at the same time. And then the freaking Jude Bellingham incident, which is an absolute travesty.
Don't get me started. I hate that.
Again, I'm not going to talk about it because it's just
obvious,
you know. But it was a game that Dortmund would look at that. We don't mind that, but we could have got something out of it. Man City would be like, okay, yeah, but they would also go into the second leg being a little bit worried, but also believing that they can score in Borussia, you know?
One thing I'll say, and I think the commentators mentioned this is the longest goal-scoring drought Erling Haaland has ever had. 2 games, right? So if Man City are going to roll that dice again and not put Dortmund away, I'm not ruling out a Haaland hat-trick in Dortmund. You know what I mean? I'm not. There's going to be a time where that man gets his opportunity and he's a killer. He reminds me of Zlatan in that way. And I think on the return leg, where the pressure's going to hit, that may well be the time.
But also, Jack, just remember that this Dortmund team was also missing Jadon Sancho, Joy
Right.
Reyes also. So they have a lot of players coming back. And you talk about game being in the balance. This is probably the most balanced game of all, because Dortmund are going to feel like we can get at this Man City team. We can score goals. The Man City have been great defensively this year, but I'm sorry, but Borussia Dortmund going forward, they are frightening. But the question is, what's going to happen going backwards? But guys, we've been chatting for a while. Tell me what you think about all 4 games. What game are you most excited for the second leg? Like, what game is in the balance? Let me know of all 4 predictions. This is Box to Box Football. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.